And that they sold for a pretty penny a cent.
Was that 250 acres altogether? I was trying to think the first time you.
Dan?
There's 340s in a row on the west side.
Okay.
But I think.
Road, and then it's about 140 on the other side where the pipeline kind of goes through it.
Yep. Okay.
Actually, three before one.
Okay.
Yeah,
All the Amish, though, huh? Interesting.
that will be the first. We opened it. You didn't lock it, did you?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Not we.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
Tim opened it.
I didn't touch the key thing. I just was
Okay.
checking if it opened.
Yeah.
They told you to do something, you freaking did it. I tell you. Might have to happen.
So he's got his tax statement in his hands. Pay attention.
Yeah. Damn it, I was gonna bring my St. Louis gun.
Couple slides here, Denise? Want to do the roll call and stuff? Okay, we'll do roll call first. So we have in attendance today, all 5 commissioners, as well as our county auditor treasurer, our county coordinator, and our assistant, that deputy, and our deputy county auditor treasurer, as well as quite a few of our department heads. Thank you all for coming, and some constituents. So at this time, let's stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance if you are able to do it.
Do that already today. Do this already today.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. So this time, I'm going to give the focus over to Denise Scada, who is our auditor treasurer. She's going to do the 2026 county budget presentation, which will be followed by the public hearing section of our meeting. So
That's correct.
thank you, Denise. Please go forward.
Welcome. I am the Auditor Treasurer Denise Guide. I have with me my Chief Deputy Julian Sabrowski, and tonight we'll be just presenting the budget. We put this bullet point on at the very beginning of the meeting so everybody knows the purpose. It's to be held just to give the public an opportunity to voice any concerns or questions they would have on our budget process. At this meeting, property values and classifications will not be discussed. And if you have any questions in those categories, you would be addressing the county assessor, and I have his phone number, and it would be by calling or by appointment. So just so everybody knows that's here, if you signed up for an appointment, it would just be in regards to budget and county levy, not your own personal classification or market value.
I'm sorry, I forgot to say that if you have a cell phone, if you could put it on silence or, so it doesn't ring, that'd be great. That includes commissioners and everyone else. Thank you. Sorry, Denise, go ahead.
That's okay. So again, this is the meeting, and I just have a presentation, so let me slide through all these. We've already seen this. We will be doing the presentation, and then we will move into the public hearing as Chair Byers indicated. The focus of the meeting is to discuss budgets and levies, and we like to kind of give a little definition of the county budget is just a forecast of our financial revenues and expenditures for future operations, and the levy is the actual county property taxes that are collected to support the government operations. So there is a difference between the two, just so some people like to intertwine them and get them confused and think they're the exact same, and they're not. Just to give some educational purposes, because I know we've had some calls and people were questioning, this is the actual property tax cycle. There's basically 3 steps to it. Step 1, market values and classifications are established by the county assessor, and at that time he sends out valuation notices in the spring, and those are the times that you can appeal or come in and question your values or classifications. That moves on to then step 2, which is tonight's truth and taxation hearing. After he has established the values and classifications, I then enter the county budget, the county levies, levies from all the township, all our entities, the townships, the school districts, any special taxing districts. That gets calculated, and the truth and taxation statements get sent out in the mail. This moves forward into the 3rd step, which is the end result of us both working together and preparing the 2026 property tax statements that'll be mailed out in March of 26. So it's kind of like sounds like a 2-year process where he's doing the assessments in the spring of 26, but those assessments aren't showing up until your tax statement until spring of 26. So it gets kind of confusing to some taxpayers. The truth and taxation notices look like this. You all received them in the mail if you own property. I put a bullet point of the red showing the indication of our meeting. You will see as this is listed, there's your township meeting, your school district meeting. Those meetings you can attend and ask them questions if you have questions on those line items. But tonight we're here just on the county one. We won't even be addressing the other entities. They're not our budgets to discuss. You would have to contact them. How the budget process happens is we have a timeline we follow. In April, the auditors that do the county audit, which is Clifton Larson Allen, they finalize the audit for year end, and they start to prepare a presentation that they will submit to the county board and present in May. During that finalization in April, we start preparing our packages that we send out to the department heads. And in May, when that presentation of the final audit is set, that is when we get our budget books all ready to send out, and we disperse them to the department heads. A lot of them already have their budgets forecasted, and all they have to do is enter the numbers in and submit them back to us. When we get those back, we analyze them. We work with the finance committee. The finance committee consists of the county chair. This year it would be Commissioner Byers, and the vice chair, which was Commissioner Denny, myself, my chief deputy, and then the coordinator, Jackie Bauer, sits in on that finance committee. The finance committee reviews and discuss all the department proposals. We kind of analyze, we look at the trends of where their line items have been, what they actually spent, where we can see if changes could be made. Maybe there can be cuts, maybe we see some items that we feel they're falling short and they should probably anticipate to put more in that line item. Maybe the trend showed that they were short each year. So it goes both ways. We might find line items where we can cut and have a good savings, and then we find line items that were like, man, you were kind of under budgeting, so we should look at that too. So we work very hard and diligently on those budgets throughout that whole month of June. In July, we ask them to come back. We might identify different departments that we can see reductions. And I will say that we did hold several meetings, and unfortunately several department heads were asked to come back, and we reviewed their departments and we asked for additional cuts, and they were all very willing to make the cuts, and they found areas where they could save the county dollars, so we appreciated that. Moving forward then, as we analyzed all these budgets and put the numbers together, that's when we came before the board and we did our work session so that we could bring in September the preliminary levy for the County Board of Commissioners to adopt, which was held. We're into November now, and that's where we're at right now. We finalized and sent out the truth and taxation notices for preparing for this meeting tonight. From this meeting, once we do the public hearing, the final budget will be presented to the county board in December for their final approval. That will be sent to the state at the end of December. A little bit of county budget history. You'll see that 41.6 of the proposed 2026 budget is supported by county taxpayer levy funds. Excuse me. The teal color blue is our other sources of income that we receive, might be state aids, grants, items like that, revenues, fees collected. The orange one would be the actual county levy dollars that support. Those are the actual dollar amounts that we're gathering from taxpayers to help support the county operations. And then you'll notice this fine dark line on these years of 2021 and 2025. That's where we actually use some of our fund balance and savings. Particularly last year, we used 300,000 of our fund balance to offset the budget to help with the budget process. So that's just a chart and graph to show you that. Some of the items that we were looking at this year when we were putting our budget together, some high cost of health insurance, COLA cost, these things all were significant portions of the county budget. And so those had to be analyzed, as well as the county implemented a new classification and comp study, and that was a 3-year contract that was negotiated. So we had to also analyze what that cost is going to be. We worked with our admin HR department. They gave us an estimate that we needed to allocate to each department so that they could cover those expenses. There are also infrastructure projects that we like to keep up with the county. We like to take pride in our county. Last year we completed a transfer station build that we were awarded money from the state, and we used some of our money, some of the transfer stations capitals. So we were proud of that. We also completed a rock wall project out here. I know many of the taxpayers in the county are very much in support and favor of keeping that rock wall, and it is part of the Historic Society's main listing that we're on. So that, and also the county parking lot. Now moving forward in 2026, we want to keep up that good work. So we are working on the historic building here and the cupola up top. If you noticed, it's run down and shabby, and so our maintenance manager is working on getting funding for that and moving forward with getting that to be fixed to keep our buildings in shape. Also, we have general maintenance that we're doing all over the campus. And as you would know, even from your home, to keep things up costs dollars. And just overall economic impact, just the regular cost of doing business. You know, we have to keep the lights on, we have to keep the heat going. All those constitute budget expenditures, and so those are things we look at as well. I know this was a topic today in the discussion, and these are our county bonds or would-be loans that we have financed for building projects throughout the years. We're happy to report we have we're within 2 years. We have the payment for this year of $398,000, and then our last payment in 2027 that'll be coming through in the amount of, what did we say, $365. So, you know, we're making good gains there. We talked about it at the work session. Looking forward to being debt-free. So this brings us to the kind of the final synopsis or snap picture of what's actually, if you look on here, the proposed budget expenses, what we're budgeting to be our expenses, and what we're seeking for the total net levy. And so these are listed by all of the departments. Some you'll see, they'll be different because they are, one's a proposed, what we think the expenses are gonna be, and the other one's the proposed levy is the actual dollar amounts we would need to keep that line item operational. Now, some of the offsetting amounts that differ would be due to, like we talked about today, Public Works gets state aid. Other divisions work in really hard and get grant money or state-funded mandated money that they pull in. I know our Health and Human Services gains much support from those type of funds that are offered by the state. So this is just 3 pages of each line item, just showing the difference between what they estimate their budget expenses would be and what is actually proposing the net levy to be. I won't go through each line item. You can see those as we share this information online and in your packets tonight. This is step 3 of the process. This would be the county tax rate. This county tax rate is developed through the net tax capacity values that are established in the net tax levies. They actually determine the property tax that we will collect on each parcel for every tax statement in Todd County. You can see in 2021, we had a tax rate of 63.488, and now we have it down to 44.065. So that doesn't mean though, just because it's lower rate, that your taxes are gonna be lower, just so you understand that, because there's a lot of variables in the formula of calculating taxes. Minnesota has to probably be one of the most complex process of taxes there is. This slide, we just wanted to talk about, I know that Commissioner Newman has asked about this several times. And what this is just a pie chart showing for every tax dollar that's collected in Todd County, where the breakout is going, what it's actually funding. And you will see that this equates out to the 67% for general revenue, the general fund, would be 67 cents of a dollar. Public Works, the 11% is 11 cents. So if you change these all to cents, that would equal $1. So we're saying for every tax dollar that we collected in Todd County, 67 cents of that dollar helps fund our general fund. So I hope that answers your question. I know you've asked for it, so we wanted to get that pie chart in there. As well as this total budget expenditure. This graph also shows that every dollar spent in Todd County and how it's divided out into each division. So if you had $1, the general fund would spend the 38 cents of that dollar. That's the budgetary expenditures for that. And then going around the pie chart, you know, Public Works would be 32 cents and so on. So just as we showed the other chart, this shows the budget expenditures. So when we get down to the final or the preliminary that we came up with, this shows the overall picture or snapshot. For 2026, our net levy to support our budget is $21,735,000. Our program aids, as you can see from previous year, are down, and we knew that. The state cut that. And so then the final total levy for Todd County will be $19,717,468. As you can see, last year we did use reserves of $300,000. This year the Finance Committee chose not to use any reserves. Now that doesn't mean coming to up into the final, you as a board have the decision to choose to do that if you wish. And again, the 2.53 versus 4.82, that is a difference because of what I just said. CPA is lower by $69,665, as well as the $300,000 that we used in for reserves is not being used this year. So that is why there's a difference there, if you were wondering on that. That concludes the data information that I provide to educate everybody. We're at the public hearing portion of the evening. If you are here to speak on budgets or have questions, I would ask that you come to the front by the microphones. You put your name on the sign-in sheet, state your name out loud, and what your question and concern is for the county board, if anybody's choosing to come forward.
Thank you, Denise. So as she said, this is a time for, if you've come to make a public statement, you can come up front here and sign in, give us your name and address or township at least, something like that.
I'm just getting their names, but
Yep,
they could put their township down that they're in.
sure.
Oh, make sure you put your microphone on as well.
Good evening.
How are you?
Good.
Well, thank you. How about yourself?
You want to put the microphone on for?
Oh, okay.
Just
you.
for live stream, it might help
Okay.
as well for the visitors.
Becky Hensley, 890 Commerce Road, the old Alco building. Since we can't talk about property values or anything else, I guess I'm gonna make a public statement that you're going to tax us right out of the county. My property taxes went up 93% this year, from $7,000 to $14,000 on a building that I make zero revenue on. So I'm just saying that you're probably gonna push us right out of the building and right out of the county. Right now, I'm paying more property taxes in this county on 2 buildings that I own in this county versus all 7 properties owned in Douglas County. I just wish you would reconsider what you're doing.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hello.
I'm Tim Blazik, here representing Minnesota Fresh, a business in town. And I guess I have a couple questions around the process, and I'm not sure you can answer those or not, but I'd more or less be curious in terms of how you establish your budget and levies, and if they're independent processes of each other, or if they just magically kind of come together and mirror up in the middle.
We analyze when we come together, as I stated, we look at like a 4-year trend of what was spent.
Okay.
Because this is the budget we're forecasting. So we're forecasting what would be spent in that budget for that budget year. And then we work with the department heads to come up with an actual budget that they're gonna need to be sustained. It turns into an actual levy once we analyze that budget, and then we see what we have for tax dollars that we're going to collect. Because like I said, there are some departments that they get state aids or they get funding from the state. And so that offsets that. There are some departments that generate revenue. There's a lot of departments that don't generate any revenue. So when those work together, they're working together, but they are 2 separate things, because one's a forecast and one's the actual tax dollars we need from the taxpayers to pay us to pay those budgetary items.
Okay. Maybe I'll take my question a little bit further than 2. I guess, similarly, probably some other concerns in the room, it seems like during that process, I would say that, if the budget is X and we need to get to a certain amount, that maybe those levies were a part of that decision. I guess as a business owner as well as just a general citizen, we can't just increase our revenue to match what our budgetary needs are. So I'd ask if you guys have any more commentary around where you've been or where you've challenged your different departments to find efficiencies within
Yes.
to reduce what the expenditures are and how much we've contributed in that regard. As a business owner, I look at that every day. Where can we save
Exactly.
money and how
Yep.
do we do it?
And that's
And I
what,
task my employees with that, I guess.
Yes.
And it's very public within our own company. Curious to see how you guys manage
do you
that.
have those finance notes? We did meet, like I said, with department heads, and my particular department, I cut over 50,000. I just, right off the top, found areas where I could cut, we did. Our motor pool, we decided this year, the county motor pool is not getting a new vehicle. You know what? Our dollars were tight, the state was cutting us, so we just said, nope, there's not gonna be a new car in the motor pool this year, even though we'd like to add one and take one out and have a smart and wise rotation. But I opted to say to the finance committee, we're not gonna buy one this year. Same as other departments, we called in Public Works several times. Lauren can speak to what he had to cut. The sheriff's department, our county sheriff, we asked him in twice, maybe even a 3rd time, I believe. Public health, HHS, our Public Health and Human Service Division. They were called in. Jackie came in, she went through her budget with a fine-tooth comb. She made cuts. So every department was looked at and asked the first time around, can you find an area where you can cut? Because we knew the state had already informed us that this year, next year is gonna be even worse. They're just cutting like crazy. They spent that whole surplus. Everybody knows the story. So that's trickling down to all the counties. And so we're all absorbing that. And so the first time around, and like I said, we sit down, and these two know, they were there full days going through every line item. Our budget book is about this big, and we went through everything. And then the second time we call them in, and we say, we looked at this, maybe our assessor, his is a very simple budget. He has wages. He doesn't generate any income. So his is just cut and dry. We know what he's gonna have to pay out for the year. We know what he's gonna take in is zero, so it's an even. But there's other ones, like I said, highway, and maybe Lauren can speak to it better than I can, but he needs a budget amount that he needs to forecast for, and he needs tax dollars to help offset that, but he's also getting state aid to alleviate some of that burden. So yes, they were significant cuts this year. I've been doing this for 12 years, and I would think this was the time this year that I seen the most cuts and the largest cuts. So.
What was the overall percent?
I might have to lean on my chief to pull it up because we have finance notes that I don't have handy with me. I just have the presentation.
Oh, yeah, we were,
But,
That was
yeah.
15.
And maybe you can,
we started at 15 plus, I think.
well, oh, yeah, our levy,
We
yeah,
started the initial
yeah.
meeting, our forecasted budget was a 15% plus
Well, I think
number.
it was higher than that.
Plus,
Because we didn't know the state CPA. We didn't know CPA at the time, so we started at closer to 19. And so we started at 19% when we started this whole process, and we ended up at that 4.15.
Excuse me, Denise.
Yep.
A 15.75 levy increase was the first max total we worked with, and we landed with 4.82 on the proposed statements.
And we just received data late today from our county coordinator through her affiliations that out of 87 counties, Todd County ended up being 10th lowest in the entire state. We're at that 4.83. Some are as high as 10%. So I feel very proud of what these department heads did. I feel proud of the finance committee for really digging their heels in and saying, no, you need to cut. These taxpayers can't afford this in the county, so go back to your budgets, go back to your penny, your pencil, put it to the paper and come back to us. And I will say that both our chair and our vice chair were very firm with it.
In terms of the levy process and the assessed property values, how, maybe that's a commissioner question, but how do you get to the numbers you get to in terms of the property values? I'm more general, I'm not honing in on any one property necessarily, but as a business owner, I look across the city and I noticed it across many businesses, and we're talking on the low end, 30% increases in assessed values, not taxes, assessed values, all the way up to 90 or
Yeah, and
more.
I'm sorry, I can't speak on that because it's just on my presentation of the budget.
I think
But-
that's probably an assessor type, I mean,
Yeah.
how this levy gets applied to commercial, yeah, if you'd like, we'd like to answer his question if you could. Is it Tim, you said?
Yeah.
Tim, this is Chris Odden, our county assessor.
Nice to meet you. So Denise had shown a slide earlier that showed a very shortened time frame that showed assessment as step one, TNT tonight is step two, taxes is step three. I think what we really need to consider out of that is the assessment is done, finalized, reported to taxpayers before we ever meet as a budget. We never talk 2026 dollars before the 2025 assessment is finalized. The 2025 assessment is, we create it by using sales of like property.
Okay.
We use cost data. We use income data. So cost approach, sales approach, and income approach to value. So using those three approaches to value, we estimate every property's value annually and report that to the taxpayers. After that's done, we go into money, how much dollars we need. And then Denise had also shown a tax rate slide. You wanna-
Sure.
And this tax rate slide, so if we take all the values in the county and sum them up
Did I have?
and divide it by the total number of dollars needed, that gives you the tax rate. So if you only know the tax rate,
Am I going the wrong
it doesn't tell you anything.
Right.
It could mean that the values went up, or it could mean that the levy went down. But knowing that the values went up, which we know, and the budgets went up, the levy went up, what this tells me is that the values went up at a faster rate than the budget went up, because the rate went down. Following that math? It's- Do you have any other questions for me? I guess I'll interrupt right away. I want to make it very, very clear that values are set and are not, no one comes to me and says, we need more money next year.
Right. Okay.
That
That
is,
was my first question.
yep, so that is backwards.
Yep.
I give the board how much value we have. They give a budget, Denise divides it up.
But that third part of the equation you mentioned, the income, how does that? what is
That is primarily for apartments.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. So, and the first two remind me what the first two were?
Sales comparison.
Okay.
If I can buy a house in Long Prairie for 110 and you're trying to sell yours for 120, I'm not gonna buy it. If they're equal, right? I'm gonna buy that 110. But if next year I can't buy that 110 for less than 125, it shows me that the market has changed X percent. So if I have 50 sales in Long Prairie, which is normal,
Yep.
and each one of those sales on average shows that the value of property went up 7%, all residential property in Long Prairie can expect an approximate 7% increase. Obviously, there's gonna be changes, there's gonna be new improvements, there's gonna be, we don't look and say house. We'll say two-story with a basement, we'll say deck, we'll say garage. So each one of those attributes may change at a different rate.
How do you do that with businesses?
Businesses, very honestly, is much, much harder. We have very few sales in Todd County, so we rely very heavily on the cost approach. The cost to create a building minus the depreciation of said building, plus the cost of the land.
Okay. Okay. Any insights as to why the appraised values were so much
It's a
greater this year?
very-
Was there like an abnormal business sale that was a comparison?
No, there
or-
wasn't a single, that was really based on a cost approach. It takes a very long time to enter every data point individually. I don't do it annually. Every fourth year.
Okay.
And in that time frame, we had 2021, which we saw very large increases in
Okay.
construction
That makes a lot more
costs.
sense.
So I agree, 30% 1 year on average is obscene. 7.5 over the course of all 4 of those years, we probably wouldn't be talking right now.
Yeah, I would agree. That's good insight, because that to me is new information that I wasn't aware of, so.
Okay.
I appreciate that, and it also gives me a little bit of hope for next year too.
Good to know.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Tim. Next, public comment, please. Anyone? Assuming that you have no public comment from, okay. Well, seeing there's no more public comment, I would say that we have a
I got some more
class
slides.
slide to go over.
Yeah.
Please, thank you.
So since the public hearing portion is over and the individuals here got to speak, moving forward now, you have 3 options as a board. Option 1 would to bring forth the preliminary that was certified on September 2nd, 2025, and make that your final levy using those exact same numbers. Or option 2, you could seek out more cuts in certain services or in certain departments. But again, when you cut, now we're gonna be cutting into services because we've cut so deep that any more is going to affect the service that department offers. And option 3 would be using cash reserves to lessen that impact on the local levy. But again, we know coming down from the state that next year is gonna be even worse. So that's why the finance committee and myself highly recommended not using any reserves this year. We're going to need to rely on those. In the past, we were doing great with interest earned, but that has already shifted drastically. So those are the county board's 3 options. I do have on this slide contact information. You have mine, you have your commissioners of each district, and you have your departmental listed with phone numbers and the department head listed. So those are available for the public if they have any further questions. But that would be the end of my slides, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, then. You need adjournment or a recess?
You can just end the public hearing.
All right, then, it's 6:33. We're going to end the public meeting portion and go into recess then, adjournment. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your time.